All right, let me call us to order. It's 7:05 PM. This is the regular meeting for April 2015 of the Williston Board of School Directors. Adjustments to the agenda. We have one. 6.2 is now going to be a discussion of next year's calendar, review and discussion. So that means we will act upon it next month, discuss this month. I don't think we have in our discussion matters what Todd's here to talk about. So I think what would be best suited to do is open that up before we run the report so that we can have a discussion with Todd real quick and not take up hours of your evening. Sure. With that, let me just call out any audience and communications. Didn't think so. So why don't we do this? Why don't we start and we'll have a discussion with you, and then it shouldn't be too long, and then we'll go right into the presentation if that's okay.
Yeah.
Sound good?
It's all good.
Great.
Sure. I guess I apologize. I thought I was asked to be.
I know,
John,
and
but that's okay.
because John's not here and Walter's been out, it's just been a bit of confusion. So we welcome you here.
Okay.
You're
Because,
here and you can start. It's
yeah,
fine.
Yeah. So to bring you up to speed, we didn't get the grant. So that kind of puts everything that has been going on. But at the same point in time, I still wanted to come and answer any questions that you have that came up from this, and then also kind of looking towards the future and what the next steps are
good.
in the plan, kind of thing. So what we're talking about is the Allen Brook Community Park area. And I've got both a map and I also brought some slides if we want to take a look
Great.
at those
Okay.
type of thing. But my understanding was the confusion over the school, city, and park expansion or whatever else. So just to start off with really quickly, these are approved plans.
Do you want to roll them on the table? We can come look.
Yeah,
It'd be a lot easier.
These are approved plans from 2011, and you know, also the final plan. So I just want to say that this happened in 2011, and I started in December of 2014. So I wasn't here and around, but having to write the grant, just finding things out and whatever else. So what we're looking at is this piece of property, all right here. And what this goes down to is Route 2. Sure, the school, that is the current school.
Okay.
And I'll show you a big one, but, and then down here is the fire department.
Right.
And Route 2.
Oh, okay.
All right, and so when you turn into Allen Brook, this parking lot is existing, the school is existing, and then this is the proposed active part, and then this out here is some wetlands and proposed to stay inactive. These two fields are currently developed. Thank you. So going to bigger pictures, this is Allen Brook School. This there at the top. As you can see is the property line that goes all the way around, which was all given to the town as well as the down by the fire department. And then on the other side of the road, there's a portion of land that was given to the town, and this was due to the maple tree. So that whole big development of maple tree, they were looking for a buffer to the village site kind of thing. So that's where this came from. At one point, Allen Brook was built, and the town gave a portion of land, which is this dotted line going up to here and then down, and I think she comes back down here. So it's kind of L-shaped as it outreaches.
To the school.
Gave it to the school to build the school.
So when you say, the school district has title to this land? You're not trying to,
Yeah.
That's what was the issue last month when we talked about
That I'm not sure.
Okay.
That I'm not sure. And I wouldn't wanna say yes or no, but in what I'm reading, this piece of land was given to the school district to build this school. If there was money traded or title, I'm not sure, but definitely something we can look up in the records and stuff like that, easy enough to do. So what came about is, so this is existing and this is existing. The temporary ones are no longer existing and these are existing. So my understanding is, from what I've learned, and John Turco was a member of this committee that was, and what the committee was, they looked at, one committee a number of years ago looked at what should this be on this land, and it was due to be a park. And then I think in like '95 is when the school piece came in and that was built. And then in 2000, just before 2011, a committee was put together to start planning this out. And as John, as part of the school, was on that. And this is the plan, and there was probably 3 to 4 other layouts of where things should be, compared to 4 ball fields in a circle, you know, in this area and stuff like that. The benefit to putting, this is the tennis courts and the basketball court that we were looking to go for in this grant. It was phase 3, phase 1 was this, phase 2 is moving this bike path, which currently now, it goes, follows the dotted line, but it goes right here and right between the school and the playground, which is not a great situation, you know, because people got to feel like they can get to the bike path and walk on it, but then when the kids are out playing on the playground, it just doesn't give for a safe or,
No,
you know,
now
a
they're,
convenient thing.
during recess, they're being redirected this way, which
Is
is,
that right?
that's what
People.
John started a couple of years ago.
Wow.
Yeah,
I didn't
because
know
they
that.
didn't want people, they were putting signs up to keep people from walking
Right.
there.
So the phase 2 was to do this, phase 3 was this, and then so on and so forth, phased out. We opted to go for this because of the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant that was available. It hasn't been available for the last couple of years, so this year was gonna be like a big year, a lot of money that was gonna be put out there. So we rephased it. The benefits to this being this close to the school building is the fact that the kids can use it during recess and during phys ed times or whatever else. And we had a letter of support from the PE teacher that, you know, it would be something that could be utilized in her programming and such.
But would it be exclusively, it's the towns, I mean, like the one at Williston Central School, you know, is that the
It's the
schools?
same
It's
situation.
the same situation?
This is the same situation,
I
and
mean, so people could be using it during the school day and they're very close to the school during the day?
yeah,
Or is it
um,
exclusively used by the school during the school day? I mean, how does that, because this is very close to the school, and there's a ton of academic programs that go on in this back area of the school
mhm,
all day long, especially, you know, getting
Or
kids
when-
outside and
right.
things like that.
I would say that the license agreement, which I have here for Allenbrook, and it's very similar to the one that we have for Williston Central School, it basically says, you know, school has first priority, rec programs have second, so on and so forth. So if the phys ed teacher was looking to use it, then it could be signage that these hours are not being used. But if they're not using it, then yeah, it's open to the public.
So why couldn't that be over here?
These plans were done in you know.
No, I'm just asking. I don't, you know.
All I can say was these plans are done and they're
Yep.
final,
Oh.
so this whole
But you said
process.
this was a special thing for a grant, so even though,
No,
the-
just the
No.
Just the
building,
funding
just
of
the
it?
funding.
Yeah,
so, but where it's located is final.
But hang on, you're not suggesting to us that this is a take or leave it proposition. I mean, if this is truly school property, it seems to me that,
no, I'm not here to say it's take or leave it, I'm here to give you the facts,
Mhm.
that in 2011, this is a final plan. So a group of people sat down there was school representation on it, and these are the plans that they came up with, final, as in, there was 2 or 3 other ones where things were laid out. This is the plan that they finalized on, and we know we're building these, and, we're already built those,
Mm-hmm.
and it's phased in as time goes on
Mhm.
to be like 2020 and beyond. And to move things around, you would start the whole process all over
Mm.
again. Which I'm not saying, you know,
Mhm.
can or cannot be, but would start the whole process over.
Mhm.
But this is the same situation that you have at Williston Central School.
Mhm.
They're right beside the school.
Mhm.
You know, there's the,
Well, they're actually
They're all
more
the f-
public because they're in the front of the school versus this is the back of the school, so they're, you know, you're gonna traverse, you know, where the school programming is going on in order to get to them, whereas at Williston Central School, they would be over like here, which is where they are at Central School. You don't see parents really going that close to the building and
Right.
other parts to, you know,
Right,
during the day.
but today, when I was over at Williston Central School, we had parents driving with younger kids and go on the playground when the kids were out for playground.
Mhm.
So, I mean, cause those
Yeah, they park
playgrounds,
in that, yeah, right.
cause those playground structures, we maintained and had put in with a grant,
Mhm.
so they're open to the public, you know what I mean? So-
Especially the playground that's for under age 5,
Mhm.
right? Yeah.
So I mean, I'm just, I'm
Yeah.
giving comparisons that you have those situations going on already. And like I said, this, I'm showing the plan that was done centralized and
So what's
a
your-
license agreement that was put up.
So given that the grant wasn't received, what's your next step? What do you-
The phase two would be,
What's your expectation?
the phase two is putting in this bike path to get people away from, inside the school
Mhm.
area or whatever else. And I know there was some concern about, future expansion, and this planned, and as you can see right here, possible future school expansion. All this building line right here is a
the mirror-
complete,
the mirror.
is a mirror image that's been flipped, and that was taken into consideration as well for school expansion.
But
So-
what we talked about last time was if for some reason there's, you know, need for the school expansion and you need to rebuild all this, where do you put the playground? Because now you've taken all your space, so is this the place where you would put your playground? I think that was one of the things we brought up the last time, was, you know, because there's really no other place where you would put your playground.
We have slotted for 2 playground structures to be built in the park area right here as well.
Mhm.
So I would be curious as well as to what, if any, prior school board commitments were made. Because if,
Yeah, because none of us were here when this
Mhm.
was,
Yeah.
this was done.
you know, I think if there was, yes, a school representative on this planning committee, that's one thing. If the school board made a commitment to do something, that's another. And, I think, you know,
That's important to.
Mhm.
That's important to know.
And your next step, this phase 2,
That's what's on the books to do next.
Right.
When is it coming supposedly?
Yeah, and when would, I guess the question is when would you do it, and would you need this agreement done to get that done with us? There, I threw a bunch at you at once.
No,
Yeah, I
that's
think you
fine.
get it, yeah.
So the next phase is that, when would we look to do that? Probably this summer, fall, if money is available, to do that, which in the plan it is. And which again is just rerouting the bike path, not doing the parking lot yet. The parking lot would come as we build this out. and-
Yeah, you're just
and
talking
need more
about the
parking,
bike path
But
reroute.
just the bike path reroute. Definitely this one, if money allows, we would also look to, do this piece as well.
Where's the road here?
Or-
Taft Corners. Oh,
Corners
I
is
mean,
down.
Talcott.
Talcott.
Oh, I see.
And
So
I
this
see.
is the existing bike path here, right? This is where it
Yes,
would connect up
yes,
to?
the trees.
Yeah,
Where we walk out from school,
yeah.
right?
Yep.
Mhm. Yeah.
As far as, do I need your permission? To be honest, I don't know how to answer that, other than there's a final plan and there's a license agreement. So I would say not, but I would never do that. And that's why
Well, I guess what I'm trying to understand is,
who's the license
who's the
agreement?
license agreement with? Is it with,
the Williston School District,
So it sounds like in order to do it, you do need our permission, because otherwise you won't have a license to build on the property.
The license agreement is.
You're saying the license agreement exists already?
Yeah, right here.
Is
It
it
says
executed?
draft, it says draft all over it.
It's just a copy that I
Oh.
have found. Yeah, this is just a copy that I have found, but,
Have you actually seen an executed license agreement?
yes.
The question is, who's got it? Okay, so we don't know who signed it. So we need to know who signed it, so we know when.
And was it duly authorized?
Right. Because it needs to have been approved at a board meeting. Cool. It's fine. So those are the dotted i's and crossed t's that we need to understand. Okay. Mike, could you just help, take a note to remind me, we need to get in contact with the town and see what we can do about finding this license agreement, and any help you can provide would be great.
Yeah, I'll look, just the one that I grabbed,
Yeah, I mean, if you could,
but I'll look to see, I can send you, and actually, I think it was already sent, when I had sent out everything else, but,
I think I
We'll
have
go
seen
back.
it
really?
in our package the last time around.
I'm embarrassed.
no, that's okay, it's just,
Okay, well, we'll
Last
go
one?
back. The last one or the one before?
I don't remember, but I remember seeing
Was
There was
it.
that one meeting I
maybe like
missed
the
when this first came up, and maybe it's in that package. That was like January's
I
meeting?
might be wrong, but I seem to recall that we had received it,
Okay,
which is when John Terrico's name as a rep came up.
all right. Do we have any other questions for
I
Todd
can
right
pull
now?
them out right now, but
I think the only other issue that we raised at our last meeting was about parking. And was about the, if there's a school event going on, you know, it's the same problem we have at Williston Central School now, but like, let's say there's an art show going on at Allenbrook School, but there's some big thing going on with the fields, you know, would there be overflow, you know, how do you manage that parking where, do you say that the existing parking
Yeah.
is the schools, or are people gonna naturally park there? 'Cause, you
Kind of
know,
the question that came up is can you build this out much further without doing the parking first? Because one's gonna congest. the
Right.
other.
right,
So,
yeah, it's all phased to be done.
yeah, but
In that order.
Yeah, right.
We were just,
Just-
like I said, we were jumping phase
For
to,
this,
to get that in, because we found that,
there was a possibility.
because of the grant, there was a possibility.
Got it.
The grant wasn't gonna pay for this and
This.
parking,
Right.
and, we felt that that would benefit the school phys ed program and
Understood.
recess and that kind of
Understood.
stuff, than moving the rec path.
Okay.
But now we have the opportunity to go back to the phase and move the rec path to get it out from going by the school.
Okay.
That's big, that's good.
Yeah. It's
Moving
not-
it.
Yeah. Don't think there's an issue with getting it done.
Right. And like I said,
I just wanna make sure we understand what.
I
what
think this
we-
is the more important piece than this, because this still gets you right next to the school, whereas this gets you away.
Hmm.
And I've heard that this is quite important because people are, parking, and kids are, coming out this way where they're parking on the grass for,
Oh, for the,
Yeah.
Little League and
Oh.
and that kind of stuff.
Oh, wow.
I had a gentleman in the neighborhood voice a concern about,
Huh.
he's seen it, he's taken pictures and he's seen it,
Wow,
and he says it's an accident waiting to
Yeah,
happen.
Yeah.
It's happened for years.
So
Yeah.
having this going down to, the parking lot and staying near the sidewalk and stuff, but if we could do both,
yeah,
then that would be great.
simultaneous.
And again, I just wanna go on the fact that I'm new to this, and what I'm looking at is final plans
Yep.
Mhm.
and license agreement, and not questioning that you guys can do anything differently, but, we can, this allows us to
Well, think of
move
it this way,
forward
we're
and
treating
start,
it
and start building.
we're new at too, so
Right.
we're just trying to get up to speed so we can, work with you in the best way that we can.
Right.
So I think we've got a mutual interest here for sure. Okay, in the interest of time, do you have anything else?
Thank you for
No,
coming.
thank you
Yeah,
very
no
much.
problem.
Really
Yeah,
appreciate
yeah. And if I can put a hands-on, a copy that's signed. Who should I send that to?
You can send it, here, I'll give you an email. There you go.
Great,
Thanks.
thank you.
All right. Okay. Presentation. It's all yours.
All right. I'm Jackie Parks, building principal, and this is school guidance counselor in Duggar. Got it right? Nicely done. Yes, and I'm here and I'm pinch hitting for Walter Nardelli tonight. I'm also co-presenting the PLP local information to the board as well. So we're gonna talk about one component of Act 77. It's convenient you were all in there for that. So, which is the personalized learning plan component. So a few of our core ideas, we wanna just reiterate, we know you just heard sort of the requirements, but we're gonna talk a little bit more about that. We're gonna talk about the tool that we'll be using to house our personalized learning plans, the purpose of them, and then some implementation details for you. So as you heard in the first common topic, personalized learning is part of Act 77. And the personalized learning component is that by November 2015, all students in grade 7 and grade 9 will have a personalized learning plan. With the idea being then the following year, the next group of grade 7 and 9, so you'd have 8 and 10, and then they'd work its way up. So what schools have been tasked to do is to identify as PLP advisors, which are all faculty members that are professional faculty members that will meet regularly with small groups of students throughout the year to plan and check in on the personalized learning plan. So some of the details, as I said, we begin in grade 7. That plan then is kept and reworked all the way through high school graduation. So it follows the student and evolves with the student. PLPs might document some things that are already happening. So our 8th grade challenge is a really great example of that. That's already very personalized, where students go deep into a topic that they're interested in, and involves all sorts of different components. Independent projects, some of them that are tied with our end of the year trips, have an independent research component that's personalized, and then most of our teams set academic goals and social goals that are personalized right now. So it's not something completely foreign to the work we're already doing, it's just putting a different structure to it. And then PLPs will also, and I think this is really exciting, will encourage students to explore other areas of interest, which I think as educators and parents is kind of an exciting piece to open up different worlds for them. So in general, the process, there's identification of goals, which is through a face-to-face dialogue. It is not meant to be electronics replacing face-to-face. It's dialogue with an educator, with parents, with students, to identify goals, make a plan for those goals, implement those, see how it went, which is assess, reflect on them, revise them, and then it just keeps circling round and round. So you could, really go through multiple goals, certainly at least one a year, but it could be multiple goals, and it could be they continue, and it could be they completely change year to year, depending on what the student needs. So CSSU has chosen Naviance, which is a platform associated with VSAC, as the tool that we'll use to house our PLPs. This is because Naviance is a platform that CVU already uses for career and college readiness. Students our 8th graders have already registered for classes using it. They have a password. So that was the chosen tool to use throughout the system. It is, there are some basic pieces to it, but you can also create your own templates within it and add some different features, which for particularly the 7th and 8th grade graders in buildings is kind of exciting for us. And of course, there's a short-term and a long-term cost associated with it, as you can imagine. So the purpose for PLPs is we really want students to be reflective, independent learners, to start thinking about those career paths and areas of interest, to have a structured goal-setting process, to increase their engagement, because obviously if something's personalized, the hope is that they're going to be more engaged, and then to provide flexible pathways for learning all the way through. And you heard about a few of those, of what that could look like at the high school level, with job shadowing and those types of things. But there's also, it's going to be interesting to think about at the 7-8 level, what that may be able to look like. And now Shannon's going to jump in.
So we just wanted to share with you guys some of the components, both of the Naviance, where we're housing these PLPs, as well as some of the details that are more school-based for us, seeing that you now have the overview. So some key things right now to understand about Naviance, like we've said, CVU is currently using this, so some folks may be familiar with this already, but there's an administrative, a student, and a parent portal, so that each looks a little bit different, but everyone has access to the same information in different ways, and we'll show you a little bit about what that looks like. So the PLP, I caution you to not think about it as like a plan that can be printed off. Here's your PLP. It's more of a structure that articulates a set of tasks to do throughout the year that will help students better focus on personalized learning. So through Naviance, we can assign specific tasks to students throughout the year. So the tasks, of course, speak to the critical elements of the PLP law that are identified, and we'll go over those. But some required tasks that we already know will be in place is a values survey, strengths survey, interest and ability survey, the creation of an academic goal using a SMART goal template, and the exploration of career clusters. That's kind of a basic overview of what tasks will be. There are other tasks that go beyond the law that are also available that we're talking about at our school level. And again, we're just looking at all of the tasks, both the ones that are already created and housed in Naviance and others that we could bring in and upload. And we're just trying to consider relevance and meaningfulness of these tasks for students. So,
Can I just ask,
Yeah.
are these online survey tools that are?
they are.
Yes.
Yep, this Naviance is an online software.
Right, so
Yep.
that they would be additional, like 3 surveys that kids would be completing online. Those are 3 different surveys?
3 different surveys, yep. Yep. So these critical elements that I spoke to that the tasks address, these are just the basics. So a PLP by the letter of the law needs to include student information, self-knowledge and a student profile, individual student goals, common school goals, some transition work from middle to high school and transition between goals, as well as a reflection on goal setting and task to meet the goals. Yeah. So I'm sorry that this isn't the best shot for you guys, and I can certainly, we can send this to you or we can print out more information, but we just wanted to give you a look.
Can you turn off the light? maybe?
Yeah, maybe that will help a bit. So a look at what, is it too dark, we good? Yeah.
It's better.
Great. So this is the Naviance student portal. So when a 7th grader logs onto their Naviance account, you will see this little tab reads PLP. And this tiny word says tasks. And so if we were to click on that, there would be the, let's say, 7 to 8 tasks that they have to complete throughout the school year that we will break down for them in a set timeline. In order to complete their 7th grade PLP. There's other things, just to give you a shot of what Naviance, so this is courses, colleges, careers, about me, and then my planner. There are multiple things that are housed here. For example, journal entries may be a part of a task that's assigned that helps meet the element of reflection. So that's kind of the basics, that's what it looks like. There are any questions there, but.
A quick question. So
Sure,
at the high school level, this is used at CVU.
Correct.
And at the high school level, parents can request access to this.
Yeah.
So will you have that ability also?
Yes, actually, Jen, if you go back the last slide, oh no, yeah. To this
Parent
student
portals.
portal,
Yep,
actually.
there it is. You got it. Parent portals.
There's
see.
administrative student and parent portals.
Yeah.
That one?
Yep, if you go ahead to this, to the student, section, I just wanna see,
You might not see it.
okay, go
Yeah.
ahead one, actually, I think it's in the next one, yeah, here it is. So in the administrative portal, there's this tab right here says Family Connection.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
that is the term that families will use to access their portal.
Got
This
it.
is like a staff member's view, but there's a similar view and sign in for students and families, and then for school and
Yeah,
administrators.
and I guess the reason I ask is
Yeah,
that, so you're gonna have PLPs, starting in kindergarten, right?
Well, not necessarily. The law has not gone below, at this point, 7. There are some schools and districts that are choosing to do that,
Okay.
but it's not a given, no.
Are we going below 7?
Yeah, what are your thoughts
Our
on that?
plan right now is to really get solid with 7th and 8th grade and do it really well, and then decide,
Okay,
does it make sense
mhm.
to go lower? Developmentally, I think we wanna see how these tools match up to where kids are, and then make a kind of an informed decision on that.
yeah.
So
Go ahead.
I've got 2 questions, but I don't know if you wanna just do your presentation and then I
'Cause
will
we'll-
come
yeah.
back.
Sure, yeah,
Sure.
that's okay, there's a couple slides left here, just
Yeah.
the administrative portal, you can see, there's a number of things up here that can be done, PLP is just one of the tabs on Naviance, so just wanna reiterate that. And these are tasks that have been assigned to a pseudo student that we made up as we were, playing around with this. And so that's kind of a shot of what it looks like for class. So to speak a little bit about the implementation plan that we have. So Williston Central has developed a PLP leadership team that has attended trainings together, and that's of course middle school teacher representation, myself and Chris Ford, Jackie, and some related arts and world language teachers. We just have a representation. The CSSU school counselors have been meeting all year to align PLP rollout in each building. So we've been meeting with CVU as well as all the middle schools to try to make this as uniform as possible, but also understand that there are different cultures in each building that we want to honor. One of our AYP committees is focused around motivation and student engagement, which of course pretty directly ties into personalized learning. So we've been doing some work in that capacity. And then the middle school leadership team, which is different from the PLP leadership team, has met and brainstormed the possible implementation methods because it could really vary, as you see, and we're moving along in that
Yeah.
process pretty well, but we just want to make sure that we have enough voice from the school so that it's something that we all own as opposed to something that we're telling folks to do, as you guys know how that goes. So next steps that we have to move through this process is we are working on building a schedule that provides time specifically for PLP development. And again, just not bogging down too many details, we have some options around that we're working to brainstorm together the best one to work for us. We also are incorporating the use of all faculty in this process and make sure that people are included and we use them to the best of their ability. There are pieces we need to communicate this to the wider family community, as well as to students who just have tidbits of information right now. So there's a plan for that. And then a faculty training in August for the actual specific implementation of PLPs. Oh, great. And so that is
Excellent.
So,
the amount of
yeah, we will-
information we felt like would be useful tonight, but
and we will open it up
Thank
for
you.
questions.
Well done.
Keep it
Yeah.
concise.
questions, yeah.
So
Just press that.
of this data file, if you will, that's being maintained, who has ownership? So is it the core teachers for the individual students? Is it guidance? Who's got ownership of that?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I don't think we know that yet in terms of who we're going to assign. You know, we guidance counselors certainly are gonna have full access. Core teachers certainly will have access to their students, but we also are interested in having all the professional staff be working collaboratively with students along with a core teacher or an academic teacher, because this is really about looking whole child or whole student. So, you know, what that looks like, I think until we know how we're gonna match people up, it's gonna be hard to determine, you know, who's gonna get the ultimate access.
So
Oh,
Go, no?
so let's say, you know, Kim in fax is working, you know, with a child, I mean, would Kim have,
My
Something-
assumption is, yes,
Yeah.
if they're assigned to students, that they're going to have access.
to see what that child needs to
Right,
work
exactly.
on and,
But in terms of assigning tasks and those bigger pieces, that would be the PLP leadership team that's been established.
so is each child gonna meet with a team of people, or
No.
there's still their core teacher is gonna be communicating, I mean,
We
like
don't know
what their
yet,
plan
that's
is?
what
You
we're
don't-
working on.
Oh, okay.
We don't have, I mean, certainly a teacher on their team will be part of it, no
Mhm.
matter what. But there will also be, we don't want to not use all of our professional staff's expertise in this.
Right, but it
So-
can be intimidating for a child to meet with a group.
Well, I don't think they're
Right.
meeting with a group,
Yeah,
I mean, we're
okay.
talking about, you know, maybe, and maybe for some tasks, they're working with the academic core teacher, and other tasks, maybe they're working with Kim from FCS. You know, those are the pieces we're trying to kind of work out now, what makes the most sense for efficiency as well as just for product.
But it wouldn't be someone outside of the house. So for example, if a child in a harbor house, they're not gonna have someone who has ownership, if you will, of the data from Kaleidoscope.
No,
Okay.
they're not gonna see beyond,
Beyond
no,
the teachers that are
no,
dealing
right.
with. Okay.
no, it'll be protected.
And any sense of, you know, frankly, the burden on faculty? I mean, a lot of respect for our teachers and the hard work they do, and very sensitive to these ongoing mandates that our teachers are subject to. Is this gonna take, you know, 10
First,
hours?
thank you, cause I
Yeah.
mean, this is great
Appreciate the
work,
question.
but that's, so many of, all the things coming at us are great things to do, but to do them all in the time we have and well is always the challenge.
I think that,
So-
I think of two things immediately to that question. One is that the minimum of the law is that students will meet 2 times to review their PLP. So that's not too many times. We will likely meet more than that possibly, but that, I think that minimum was put in pretty intentionally to understand this is a rollout that we'll kind of have to see how that works. And the second piece is that, I do see that teachers are already doing a lot of this work. They truly are constantly with their kids. And so this is just a different system
Yeah,
and kind
it's
of
a
a new
format.
structure to have some of the same conversations that they'll be having. So my hope and sincere belief is that the burden won't be too big.
So
It
like
will
our,
be manageable.
so like in the fall, we have hopes and dreams conferences, the first when you're transitioning to a new team, somehow those are gonna have to factor
into
into
this, yeah.
this.
Right.
8th grade challenge, I mean, there are things we are just gonna have to funnel to this, system, which is fine, it's gonna be a nice common way to do that. But there are already things that will morph into, I think, supporting this.
And the fact that it's the 7th and 8th grade teachers that'll take the brunt of this, to the extent it is time consuming.
Right.
Yes, although we hope, as I said, to figure out how related arts and world language teachers that know students
Can
and
help,
know them
can
well,
help.
Yeah,
Yeah,
have
can
them
help,
multiple
yeah.
years that we can use their expertise for some of these.
Mhm.
And we've also thought like our 2-year teams, you know, our 7th graders, for example, from some teams are leaving one team and going to another, and those teachers they're leaving for that population of 7th graders know them really well too. So I think we've just gotta be really thoughtful on spreading it out, so again, so it is meaningful.
Well, and you're starting with the largest group of kids that you've had in the school. This group of 6th graders, and my daughter included, is the largest
That's
group,
right.
136
Yeah.
kids. It's
So
It's a
we'll learn
huge
all
group.
the things. we
There you
can.
go.
No problem.
And so I think year 1 is gonna take more time, obviously, but I think once, as with anything, once people get it down, it'll start, some of it will become
Established.
and easy to go, and, you know, some of the, we're thinking about that, the time piece and how that fits in and how we build a schedule to efficiently find and then use time and all faculty when we have that time, so.
Mm.
What have the teachers who've been involved in the discussion so far, I mean, what is the sense you're getting from them about?
Yeah, I think one of the experiences was that just sort of trying to comprehend the law and picture how that's gonna look was a little overwhelming. And then when we actually walked through Naviance
Yeah.
with a pseudo student, which we did recently with a couple of the leadership groups, it was a little bit of a collective, okay, I see,
Not so
this
bad.
is manageable, not so
Okay.
bad, yeah. And so that's kind
That's
of
good.
what I've
Mm.
gotten from people so far.
And then it
that was my
has,
own
and it has
experience.
other, like, it does have some very very interesting features. So it has all the colleges. So like, let's say you have a career cluster or career path, kids can start researching colleges all over the world in US using this. I mean, it's really a interesting tool when you think about just opening up worlds for students, of possibilities, I guess. So,
And goal setting early on to achieve that
Yep.
sort of stuff.
Excellent.
so it'll be good. And I'll keep you in principal reports, obviously
Yeah.
updated, and then I'm sure there'll be a presentation at some point next year as well, just, it's more like this. But, yeah, it'll be
What is the timeline? Did we say November?
November. You have
November.
to start them by November. It doesn't mean you have the whole plan done, but, you would have it well underway.
But you can't pilot with a group of seventh graders, you have to have every
Yeah.
seventh grader
It's all
pilot,
in,
right?
yeah.
You're piloting with that class,
Yeah.
basically.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Could you grab the
Again,
lights?
so I can-
Yeah, sure. You guys want these on?
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Yeah, I know, after that, well, I went,
Yeah,
I know, it goes from, it's,
You can bring our each individual lantern
we all need Ray-Bans.
A lot of bottles that they're for everyone.
yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say, so.
Great, okay, so, let's see if we can, move ourselves along here. Section 5 is reports to the board. Principal's report is in your package. If anybody has any questions, I guess, for Jackie, since she's here, but it's pretty
Don't worry
straightforward.
about it, Shannon. Go, do a long drive.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shannon. Does anybody have any questions for Jackie for principal's report? Seemed pretty straightforward. The one thing I wanted to call out, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but kindergarten projections are a lot lower than expected.
That could change.
That could change.
You never know.
You never know.
Actually, that was, questions. That was a question I had, was after screening, how many kids for kindergarten are added? I mean, what's the expectation, is you get 95% of them at that point, and then,
screening,
or do you usually just add a couple, or can you add up to 10, or,
we're to 6,
so it's not, so,
would be the.
So it's families moving in during the
Yeah,
summer that.
okay.
yeah,
Typical.
okay.
so you would
Yeah.
get most of them at this
We do,
point?
yeah,
Okay,
we're pretty-
that was what I
We're
wasn't sure
pretty
of.
good at getting them at this point, that way.
Mhm.
And from a budgeting perspective, if, let's say we lose 10 students from projections, that means we're not gonna get those dollars. So, I mean, we could be really looking at a budget adjustment.
Based
You'll,
on-
you'll still get the dollars, Josh, because it's on a 2-year average.
Oh, that's right.
Okay.
This is the 2-year
Going
average.
back. You're right, for the next budget year, you have to consider that.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Consider 50% of it, because it's a 2-year average.
Right.
Okay,
And I just had one other
Sure.
question, and this is
Yeah.
John's report, so I'm not sure, but you could speak to the, at Central School. I'm sort of curious what percentage of teacher conferences actually happen on the day that we give everybody the day off from school, and what percentage happen earlier?
Wow. Yeah, I wouldn't be, I'd have to research that. I mean, the way that flexibility is intentional when
Mhm.
those are implemented, so I'd have to research it. For WCS, I think I could give you a 60 outside that day,
Mhm.
40 on that day
Mhm.
percent. I
Mhm.
would be just based on my walkthrough and seeing who's where.
And is there a contract language that requires teachers to have specific days for teacher conferences, or could that always happen after school or before school?
No, it's designed so they have that flexibility to offer families before school, after school, planning time, evening, so it's
Mhm.
designed intentionally for them to be able to offer those varying slots.
I just was
No, that's a good question, because
curious
that's
about that,
been
'cause
something.
as we look at a school calendar that we're pressed to fix or
Yeah.
figure, I mean,
Mhm.
that,
No,
do
it's-
we continue to do these parent-teacher conference days where we close the building for academics, or, and, do we rethink that whole process and just move towards a model that is before school, after school teacher conferences?
You have to
So-
account for the time for teachers. I mean,
Right,
the way we
right.
account for the time now is say, you could do them outside this day, and then you don't have to be here this day, or you have to do them on this day.
Mhm.
So it's not like you get both.
Right.
You
No,
know,
that's-
everyone
yeah.
has to do them, but
Yeah.
they work it.
Mhm.
I mean, there's still conferences going on now when I walk around before and after school,
Mhm.
so.
Okay.
Yep.
There was a report on the CY mentoring.
Yes.
A couple things I thought were just awesome things that I read here. 100% of the non-graduating pairs at WCS chose to stay together for this year. I thought that was
Mhm.
awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's such a great program.
You know, and I know it was several years ago that the National Mentoring Partnership came, but they gave it like top
Yeah.
notch accolades in the nation for what it really does for kids.
So kudos for that.
Yep, it's a great program.
Okay.
And you should remind us of that fact when we're dealing with.
When we
with the
do
budget.
when we do the budget, keep reminding us.
I mean, it's,
Yeah.
I can't say how much it does for students, for self-esteem, for motivation, for school engagement, for just, having
And
another
community engagement too.
adult,
It's just
community engagement,
it's
but having
really-
another adult in their life
Yeah.
that they,
Yeah.
can rely on. It's a pretty special program.
Mhm.
CSSU debrief. I think we were fortunate in that all of us were there for the common topic. Can you guys think of anything specific out of the meeting tonight that we need to call out? It was pretty straightforward stuff.
One issue, which was maybe a restructuring of how professional time will be
Well, we're gonna talk about that in a moment. That's
implemented.
that's gonna be part of the discussion.
Okay,
So,
you're putting on today's
yep,
agenda.
it is.
Yeah.
But
You're
it got
talking about
amended.
early release?
Yeah, so, hold please, we'll get there.
Hold one moment, please.
So my one thing that I was startled to read was the 7-hour school day.
Mhm.
So I'd like to hear about that.
So see if I can do this well, and maybe you can help me, Josh. But the way it works is that there's student time. There's now 7 hours of student time and 7.5 hours of teacher time each day. With this contract that we ratified most recently with the union, this is actually the strongest isn't the right way to put it, but the most clarifying terms that we've
Yeah.
had around teacher time and student time. And for some schools in the system, it will result in an additional time in the day, and I think that results for us.
That is true for us. It's a positive thing.
So we're gonna gain, 30 minutes in the day?
It'll be
In
20
general,
because
20?
right now our lunch recess is 40 minutes, not a 30-minute slot.
understand.
So we pick up 20 minutes, which,
Yeah.
per day
That's fantastic.
of
Yeah.
instructional time.
No, of instructional
So-
time.
Can you, how does that?
Yeah,
We
yeah.
we haven't laid out like what the hours are gonna be. We have to work with transportation, obviously. We work with Allenbrook because they're usually,
They're
we're
staggered.
10 minutes on one side or the other of them. So,
Mhm.
we don't know that piece yet. We just got clarification of the contract
much did
language
the
and we're
language
starting to
and-
look at, okay, so now what does this mean for start time and end time?
Oh.
Student start time and end time.
So is
Yeah.
the start, are you thinking the start time would be earlier, or you don't even?
We haven't gotten that far because we're kind of locked into transportation and then negotiating between both
So
schools.
what is our current?
So
schedule?
our current student start time is 8:10 and it goes to 2:50.
That's central school.
Yep, that's central.
No, I'm sorry, what I meant is our current student time.
6.5 hours for
6.5 hours, that's what
six,
it's,
give or take
Oh.
10
Yeah.
minutes.
6, yeah,
Call it 6.5
Yeah.
hours.
that's
so
good.
I can appreciate that it's good to have more time. I guess I remember there was a fair amount of roll-up when we added the 30 minutes, let's say 5 years ago, 6 years ago, when we added the 30 minutes that we now have. And it seemed like it was a longer rollout period. Maybe I'm just
Roll out
remembering-
for,
notification to parents, rolling it out to the community, letting people know you're
Oh.
extending the school day. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know, so.
yeah, I mean, it's
Or is it
It's
just
gonna
gonna?
be 20 minutes, so I don't know where it'll land, but because it was just finalized, it's.
Yeah, it is what it is, I guess is.
But a meaningful, for a school system that's always struggling to find time to
It's
pick up an
thrilling.
extra half hour.
Mhm.
And as we think about PLPs and how we might use some of that to help with that, it's gotta come from somewhere, so there's a lot of sort of brainstorms going on of what can we do with that?
And so is the goal to have that defined before the beginning of next school year? Is that the goal?
To have which defined?
When our start and end time will
Oh,
be?
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it'll be
Oh.
soon.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, it's
oh.
gotta be soon.
That's, I think,
That's
what
what
you
I
were
was,
getting to.
I was trying to understand
Oh,
when
okay.
you're, I mean, is it just gonna be something that we know, here's your July mailing, surprise, the school
Oh.
day's longer, or,
Yeah, I would say before school lets out, we would be able to inform, like,
Okay.
like the detail information,
Hmm.
but, to parents.
Great.
and also the impact on school sports, not that that is a driver of things, but, as the school
Yeah,
day
that'll be
ends.
okay, cause all schools end at different times, so I don't think that's gonna have a huge, be a huge, barrier or conflict.
Okay. Anything else from CSSU you can think of?
No, we're gonna discuss a couple other things
Yep,
today
coming.
anyway, so.
FAPAC, I don't know if you have anything from there. Big basket raffle is definitely
Well,
a
so,
big item.
we raised, FAP raised nearly $13,000 from school fundraisers in March. We had 3 different fundraisers, which is interesting in looking at some of the policy language about having too much fundraising and trying to spread it out. One of the policies about
Mhm.
fundraising
Really? That's
Um,
interesting.
that we have here. So, but what that does do is it makes up for the shortage in the annual fund donations this year that we've seen, which can impact the FAP's ability to pay for school field trips next year, and other FAP programs. So having successful fundraisers, really helps that. FAP's evaluating the annual fund model right now with Walter and others, to see how we can, if this is a way that we wanna fund, field trips, if that's,
Yeah, I understand.
how do we get
Yes,
that working better? Is it marketing? Do we come up with an alternative way for people to pay as you go, but you don't get tax deduction that way? Those kinds of things is what we were talking about. And then we were talking about, for our FAP budget for next year, we wanna include, money for Four Winds expenses that are above and beyond what the school pays for the Four Winds, teaching, but there's expenses that parents are currently incurring of supplies to do
I
the
see.
classroom lessons, so we feel like that's a PTO kind of
Mhm.
Kind of.
activity
Yep.
that should happen, and then we're gonna coordinate Odyssey of the Mind, not financially, but have that be something that comes through FAP.
Oh, good.
We're gonna set up an advertising budget for our events, so, and then we had a lengthy discussion about the last day of school and the new school calendar without having any information, so. But a quite lengthy discussion about that, so I was actually surprised that this isn't full here, because it was a pretty lengthy discussion. When is your school board meeting? We all wanna come. Cause I said it's probably gonna get discussed, I don't know.
Yep,
Well, it wasn't a sure thing that it was gonna get discussed, but it's here, so.
Yep. So
Okay,
that was our FAP
great,
meeting.
great. Facilities, so facilities is short and sweet. Kevin and I didn't act on anything last month, but Lyle's reached out to us, so I have a to-do to get back with him and schedule some time for the 3 of us to get together and start the process. I know he's chomping at the bit.
Anxious.
Am I on that committee?
rightly so.
Kevin and I are.
Oh, good. Thank you, I should say.
Are you on that?
I can fix that.
I'm very appreciative of those who have volunteered their time.
And then for some reason, 5.6 says committees, but I think that's what we just talked about.
Right.
We don't have any others, so. So that brings us to discussion matters. We have new policies up for review this month. 6.1, so we've got travel and related expenses, student placement assignments or assignments, and grade advancement, retention, promotion, and acceleration of students, parentheses mandatory. So all this was in your packet, and Kevin is our rep to the policy board, so I
Right.
don't think we've got any input we can get for this So I guess if there are any questions, we can take them back to Kevin to take back.
Not on my end.
No, it didn't seem like they were radical
No,
edits.
no. So it seemed pretty, these three seemed like they were pretty straightforward from
Straightforward.
changes from last
Mhm.
time. Yeah. Okay. 6.2 calendar. Well, we saved up some time so we can talk. So you have, I should have here a printout. If not, I think I've got
I
another
have,
copy.
I made copies.
Oh, great. Does everybody have one?
Yes.
I think
And
it's,
is it
Yep, it's just, yep.
4/13/15 date on it?
4/13/15.
Yes,
Okay, does anyone need one, or you all set?
we're good.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
you'll notice that the discussion item that was on the agenda was called professional development release time. And that's now been struck, and it's now a discussion of the calendar, and here's why. The administration team, the Colt went and took a look at proposing some changes in how we do professional development for teachers. And the suggestion that came up and the idea that was floated out to the community was to take a look at potentially doing early release for 2 days a month. So, for example, every other Wednesday, school would release, around 1 or 1:30?
Yeah, I think 1 was the thought.
And the rest of the day would be spent for professional development for teachers. So it'd be scheduled in on the calendar, everybody knew when it was, no other, the other professional days. There'd be some that would be swapped out. There would be 2 student days added to the calendar to make up for the time. It was never came out, but you would think it'd probably be a day in the beginning, a day in the end, or something like that. Or a day that got placed back in because a professional development day was pulled out of the calendar. That could be the possibility also. The intention was that the way that, with all of the programs and everything we're expecting of teachers now, it makes more sense for them to be doing more continual professional development than trying to put it all in the beginning of the year or at the end of the year, with not so much in the middle of the year. And it gives them a chance to kind of learn in progression and apply that more immediately to the classroom, right?
It moves it to a true embedded professional development model. That's where you're not having to pull teachers out of classrooms to do it. But that's what it kind of lends itself to, that ongoing piece.
But
So
we
would
don't
we
do
not,
that.
would we
Sorry.
not be pulling teachers out of the
No.
classroom as much as we do now?
Definitely not as much, but there still would be, I'm sure, some of that.
It should
Wait.
you would think it should reduce it, which is
Yeah, 'cause we do
part
it
of
a
it,
lot,
because we
yeah.
do it a lot, yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
I did not know that we currently pull teachers out of,
for professional development, for
There
their
are
own
For
some.
professional
some, not
development,
for all,
some.
but for some.
right, but
Yeah.
right,
And all the
but,
best practices, the math, all that,
Right.
they've
Yeah.
been, there's subs all the time for
Yeah,
those.
because they're getting pulled out to,
3 times a year.
Yep.
The math teachers get pulled 3 times a year. So different groups have different
right.
formats of professional
Right, but-
development going on.
I just want to be clear that, I guess at least I am clear on this, because if I see the calendar the way it is right now,
yeah, this is not what's being proposed for this calendar.
no, I know,
okay.
but I'm using this as the
Okay.
example,
Sure.
right? So when I look at the calendar right now, I see professional development in October, I see some in November, I see some in February, I see some in June. So really, it is kind of spread out. And there are days specifically for that. So if we are saying that we're gonna take away these days, all of these, and then break it into every Wednesday, twice a month, cutting the day, does this mean that these days will be added into the school day? Or how does this work?
At least 2 of them get traded
At
in
least
for
2 of them
student
get
days,
traded
At
in for,
least 2,
at least
okay.
2. Yeah.
was what that proposal was speaking to,
Right.
I believe.
But only 2, if you're, how many how
The-
many,
the
they're
minutes-
it's a half day, I'm gonna call it
Yeah,
a half day.
the work was done on the minutes, the actual, right down to the minute. And it worked out, because it's not every other Wednesday, it falls on holidays and things like this. The way it worked out is it was within minutes. So technically,
Right,
it
the math
worked.
worked.
The math worked. Now
So-
you get into all of the other issues,
Right, so-
right?
Well, I wish I had a, let's call it 6 years ago, 7 years ago, there was a community uproar. Actually, it was longer ago than that. There were so many half-days in the Williston
Mhm.
schools
Right.
that it became, I
There
think
was
it
a
was
lot.
right when my kids were starting school, that all of
Mine
a
too.
sudden it was like, we're not gonna have those anymore, because it was a huge
That's right.
community uprising
Right.
over how many half-days. It was a big
Mhm.
parent, affected parents and all that. So now we're talking about sort of moving back in that direction of, I mean, it's one thing to have it at the high school level where the kids can stay home by themselves, but when you start having it at the
Yeah.
other levels, then parents have to
Yeah.
take time off from work.
And this is one of a few major reasons
Yeah.
why it was decided to step back from this year, because
Yeah.
there were other issues besides that, which is a huge one. There's issues around how do we use the paraprofessionals during that time?
Mhm.
What are they what are they doing?
Yeah.
And we've extended our school day, so it's not really a half day. We're going into 4:30 and even beyond in some cases with what we're doing with the late bus and stuff. So
Right.
the half day is really, in some senses, you can think of it as a 2/3 day.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of other things that have changed over time. Then, trying to balance that with the pressure of doing an embedded
Getting the work.
model
Yeah.
like this, it's a challenge that we don't have solved.
Mhm.
So, I think administration wisely stepped back and said, we're not ready. We get that there's a lot
Which
to this.
administration are you? You mean the CSSU
Yes.
board?
Yeah,
is that what you're
CSSU,
talking about?
yeah, the CSSU, the leadership team. So the superintendent and so on. So that brings us, I wanted to give you the context so you understood why we were now looking at the calendar in this form, which is pretty traditional. This is pretty straightforward, with one difference, which you'll appreciate when we get to an action item later on. You can see at the end of this calendar in orange are the designated snow days. So we're gonna be very upfront. If it's gotta go, it's gotta go, and these will be the days. Those
So,
days get us to our
there-
max, to our mandatory minimum.
There's another bigger issue with this calendar. We are starting 10 days before Labor Day. And that I hope isn't precedent setting, that we're gonna start 10 days before Labor Day. And I had a little back and forth with Elaine on this via email over the last couple days. And apparently there was a lot of discussion about this when they were coming up with the calendar through the tech schools. I guess that's
Yeah.
this whole process
Yeah,
works.
we are at the
About
tail
whether or
end of
not
this.
having,
Yep.
having school end, middle of June, 16th, 17th, which, is that really so bad, versus, starting that much earlier in the summer?
So let me, if I may, Labor Day is very late this coming year.
Yeah,
So
I
that's
know.
part of it. And to be honest with you, I would love to see a longer school year. So if we could sneak an extra 10 days in by manipulating the calendar, more power to us.
Well, it's not the way to, I mean, there's a larger public comment about our school day, the length of our school year and things like that. So
Yeah.
I just think, businesses that, community businesses that count on, the Champlain Valley Fair, all just different things like that, this is how their livelihood is having these family,
Yeah,
You know,
although if I
and
may
this is
say,
universally, this is,
I hear that you're voicing community's concern, but I think the way I approach this is similar to you. We should be focused on enriching academically,
mhm.
not on supporting business. It's not that
I don't
by
mean
any
it
means,
specifically
but-
that way, I
Right.
just feel like, this is sort of a larger
big change.
community conversation. I'm just using that as one example, but it's just
Right.
a larger community conversation about, just as I'm sure there must have been when we moved from starting school after Labor Day to starting school before Labor Day, so,
Right.
or do some people just sit there and make these decisions, I don't know, so.
Well, I guess personally, I never considered Labor Day to be a hard and fast school calendar issue in my mind.
Mhm.
But beyond that, assuming you've had the conversations with Elaine, you understand that this calendar is based on and needs to conform kind of all the way up the chain through.
Oh, yeah,
detail
no, I
centers.
understand that.
So we are a bit limited in our ability to affect some of
Mhm.
those things, for good or bad. But I guess that's really all I have to comment on it.
Mhm. So what ability do we have to, because my other question is, like, this year we have Yom Kippur off. We didn't have it off last year. We did have it off the year before. So how does that, how does that keep switching to be a day that we all of a sudden have school off and not school off? I mean,
Depends, first what the regional calendar sets theirs first, and then there's a few additional days that CSSU schools have. And
but this is specifically listed like it's a holiday that we're having off. So, you know, and I looked at this year's, because I remember it was one we had off 2 years ago, and then this year we had school on Yom Kippur.
I think Yom Kippur's, is it on a weekend this year, coming up?
No, this
No, no,
is
this
coming up.
last year.
23rd?
This past year it was on a Friday.
Gotcha. So, my understanding is that there was community interest for respect for some of the minority religions, that on an offsetting year, you would have one for the Jewish high holidays, one for the Muslim holiday of, I'm gonna botch the name of, Eid al-Adha, and that was going to be a gesture, just as we take off for Christmas every year, and that would be something that would be a showing of support for diversity in our community. And I'm not sure every school district does that in Chittenden County, but
They don't.
I know that there is certainly interest, and I would support the continuation of doing that.
Yeah, I think that was my understanding too.
Well, as we're looking at trying to get days, you know, so.
All right. Any further discussion? So we will, okay.
So can we have school on days that the supervisory union, I mean, like, can we have school on December 23rd? Or, I mean, is there some reason why we don't have school right up?
Well, there's a couple things to consider. You've got a number of contracted days that you can, teachers are only contracted to teach a certain number of days.
Okay,
So and that also includes professional development days.
Yeah.
So if you look at the cumulatives down below, we're at our maxes with the calendar. So
Okay.
you're
trading.
trading
Okay.
now is what you're doing.
okay,
So the theoretical answer is yes, but then
Mhm.
you end up trading it somewhere else in the
Yeah.
end.
the
Mhm.
end amount of days is the same.
mm-hmm,
Yeah. Okay. So we're discussing this now. This will be on for action, which will be approval in May. Just to note, and I find it interesting, because I know that we manage this with communications with our parents and stuff. The indication that we end up giving out of this discussion sort of informs our administration as to how they can have discussions with parents. So, you know, I'm not asking for a vote here, but if anybody has a very large concern with this calendar that's gonna precipitate a negative passage of this next month, we need to kind of be aware of that. And I bring it up because last year, the calendar wasn't actually officially approved until the business meeting. It's 6/25, 2014.
It's too late. Yeah.
Okay, so
And we have people already calling and
absolutely,
emailing for
and
vacations,
rightfully so.
obviously, and
So,
whatnot, which,
you know, we want to do the best we can. I think it's, you know, it's important that we have this discussion and the discussion we've had tonight, so we all understand and you know, understand what compromises we're having to make in order to make this calendar work that's best for everybody, and then indicate that to the community, and we can take action next month. Okay.
so I'm sorry, I have to backtrack, because I forgot when you were doing CY mentoring that this is the
Oh,
book that goes with
Cool.
it for this year, and
Okay.
that Nancy Carlson wanted you to be able to take a look at.
thank
one.
you.
So,
Pass it down.
So do we need to make a decision on this year's calendar as far as whether?
Coming in action.
Sorry.
And we're almost there.
So it'll show, which I think is great, to have what days will be potential snow days,
Yes,
so people know
yeah.
for planning.
To me, it's like, why didn't we ever do this
Why would,
before?
and
Yeah.
a lot of other
I-
school districts do this, and I
Yeah.
think we
We
used to do,
used to.
we used to do
Yeah, I
it.
don't know, I don't know what happened.
and
on
everyone
that.
gets confused when you know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Even
Right.
teachers do, they get
Right.
like, So
Yeah.
I think it's really good to
Right.
outline.
Absolutely.
I think it's great to do that, so, because I know 2 years ago, I ran into an issue with, you know, a camp that I ended up, I luckily could get my money
Yeah.
back, because my daughter didn't want to miss the last half day of school.
God forbid, no kidding.
It's like, really?
So, yeah, let's do our last discussion matter, and then we can get into action items. The last discussion matter is Communications Board Corner, next article submission. Do we have, anything we think is important, we want to communicate this month? And B, who's up?
Well, was there one in for last month with for needing a CVU board member and stuff like that?
Oh, we should bring that up. I don't know where we bring that up, but we'll bring it up now. I don't know if there was or wasn't, but via word of mouth, we actually have 2 people interested.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
good.
And both seem like great folks. What we need to do, and I guess I'll get this together offline, unfortunately, and fortunately, the timing's tough here, because it would be really good to get this person approved by us and onto the CVU board before the retreat, because that's really where they get in and get
For
started.
me. Mhm.
So, so I think we may need to have a special meeting in the next few weeks to sit down. And I have another idea, see what you guys think about this. You need to have a special meeting in the next couple of weeks to vet those 2 candidates and bring them, so that we can bring it as an action item next month.
Mhm.
I guess we have to do it as a special meeting, so that there's public knowledge, so that,
Yeah.
so we have that time, that's be a discussion item with an interaction with them in public. Then we can take action on it at the May meeting, and they can be onboarded then.
And that's for
Why-
hiring is ideal, actually, because, like, I know there's some hiring that they didn't get it quite finalized for recommendations tonight, but to wait a month is a long time, so if you have a meeting in between.
But aside from that potential imperative, why couldn't we do interviews and assuming that one candidate rose to the top, so to speak, make a decision why do we have to stagger the decision-making process?
I think maybe I'm wrong, but I thought by statute, anything that comes up as an action item needs to have been discussed previously, so that the public has the
Warning.
ability to be warned and on the discussion and the action.
Could we have a discussion at our next meeting and an action be a special meeting that we have after our,
It's 6 one way, half dozen the other.
Yeah, I would think we should look at that, because I'm not holding
But I'll tell you
myself
my
as
idea
open.
about, well, maybe we still can't get around it. I had thought that maybe we could charge a subcommittee of 2 of us to go meet these people and bring one candidate back and take action on the one candidate. But that then defeats the purpose if in fact it's true that we need to
Warn.
warn the discussion and the action.
I'd be very surprised if it was a 2-step process.
So let me take the action item to go talk to Cindy and Elaine and find out. And I'll get back to you all via,
That'd be great. But the other thing is, I think to the point made earlier, while we may have, I don't know who these candidates are, and they may truly be fantastic candidates, but I feel like we really should go out of our way to make sure that the public understands that we would consider other applicants. I don't want to give the perception that we have an inside track going on for a public position like
Try to
this.
get Cindy. Do you want me to see if she's available?
Sure.
So I would like to do a little more public outreach, if possible. And if
Well,
that-
timing's short if we want to do that. I don't disagree. I just think we need to take action quickly. I do recall, does anybody recall if John said he was going to put something in the Bell?
And he did.
And he did.
I seem to recall.
And actually, that got one of the candidates.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
That got
He
one of the
did.
candidates. So that
Yeah, I
outreach did
remember
work.
reading that, Yeah.
And so I guess if you feel strongly about that, give me some suggestions. So how could we quickly get something out? We have to get something out
Put in something in the Observer
in the Observer right now
right
for
now.
Tuesday.
Can we do
Monday
that?
deadline.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for this coming Monday,
Yeah, so it would be out for Thursday. That would work. Means we'd
next
have,
Thursday?
a week from Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
School vacation week?
yeah, great week.
Well, I guess let's find out whether we can do this
Yeah,
in one meeting.
and he's
that
gonna try
may-
that.
That may,
So let's continue on action matters.
We should leverage, Facebook, Twitter, maybe?
Yep,
Oh, yeah, put it on
Yep.
the Facebook
I,
page.
And,
Fair enough.
you know, calling it again on the bell, that never hurts.
I need to, before I do it out there, I gotta, okay,
Yes, okay.
I don't wanna,
Enough said.
I don't wanna scare off the two people we've got. Cause that's not the intention.
Right.
Action matters. 7.1, personnel, materials for board. Approve nomination of a 1.0 FTE school nurse. Can I have a motion to approve the nomination of a 1.0 FTE school nurse?
So moved.
Second? Anyone?
sure, second.
Thank you, Josh. Okay, discussion.
So let me maybe cut to the controversial.
Oh, do you have to? No.
So I think we received a communication from an interested member of the public about concerns that in looking at the criteria for a potential candidate, one of the criteria we should be looking at is not
Licensure.
necessarily the degrees, but the length of experience as an actual practicing nurse. Maybe I'm trying to paraphrase the
No,
letter.
you
No,
did.
I think that's what I got from it.
And so,
Yep.
what's the response to the,
Well, I
to
mean,
that critique?
you know, we are looking for we being the school, the teacher association, I mean, this is a professional, you know, it's a 4-year, nursing position that we're looking at. So we're not looking at an LPN, we're looking for an RN.
Right.
So that is one of the major criterias that we're interested in and that the association's interested in this position having. So, you know, we were looking for the best candidate that not only had that component, but also just the best candidate overall when we, you know, went through the interviewing process, which, do you want me to run through kind of the process?
Sure, although I've read
Yeah.
Okay.
the,
Okay.
so, when I see associate's degree in nursing, that's a 4-year RN?
No, an associate's degree is a,
The associate school nurse, that is
that's a title, that's the
that's a
position.
title under the Vermont educator licensure regs.
Okay,
So, and that means that that nurse has 2 years of nursing, so more like the LPN piece. We're recommending somebody that has already obtained the 2-year associate school nurse and will be completing the 4-year RN piece in the early fall.
a
Is
bachelor.
also enrolled in a continuing master's program that she rolls right into and is part of in her current studies.
So one of the things that I think is required in Vermont for this type of position is 4 years of clinical nursing beyond a nursing education. Does this candidate have that?
Yes.
Because I couldn't tell from the list how that,
So upon this candidate rising to the top, Cindy Kahneman Warren reviewed the credentials and there she is. And
Good time.
and said, yes. Walter was out during that time. He originally started this search, and then I took it over when he was injured, and then when he came back, he went back and had a second discussion with Cindy, and the same answer was yes.
Because-
So I had to run from Charlotte.
So we're talking about Cindy, we're talking about the nurse.
Figuratively or literally?
I felt, well, the way Mike was harassing me.
Because the employment history in the materials you gave does not at least apparently reflect 4 years of clinical experience as a nurse. If you,
Cindy, do you want to comment on that?
I don't have the materials in front of me.
I'm happy to,
Thank you.
it's
yeah, I
actually
couldn't, I
page,
couldn't
it's
find 4
page
years
2.
of
It's
experience
this.
either.
Is this piece?
No.
Yeah, that does have it, you're right, that does the endorsements on it.
executive session, because I'm really uncomfortable discussing candidates.
Yeah, so we might need to.
Okay, so let's hold, great, let's hold, finish the other action items, ask our other question of Cindy, because we're almost there, folks.
So move to table discussion on the hiring?
Yes,
Until-
until we until we come out of executive session. Okay. Oh, I just lost my second page, somewhere, is it on the back of yours? All right,
What do you need?
I'm getting all flustered. Here, I got it. Too much paper. Okay, let's do the calendar, then we'll ask Cindy our question. So, action matter 7-2, the 2014-2015 last student day and faculty day. So, we need to, can I have a motion, how am I gonna do this?
I move to extend this to make Tuesday the 16th. Is that the right?
Yeah,
date?
that's right, I think you're right.
The last day of school.
I thought our agenda says the 15th, Monday the 15th.
Well, we have two options. We have the option of doing the 15th,
We can amend the
which-
motion,
Oh, sorry.
let's get a
Okay.
motion, and then we can
Sorry.
discuss.
So moved.
Actually,
Josh,
Josh moved, you second, please.
Oh, sorry. I second.
Great, thanks. Now let's discuss. So, so our options are this, because of the snow days we have, in order to meet the minimum number of days, we must have the children come back on Monday, the 15th of June. We have the option to extend that to the 16th also, because that meets the number of student days that
Yes.
we're allowed to use. But we can excuse one of those 2 days. So our
Student days.
student
They
days,
would
student
become
days.
professional
not-
days
Yeah, would be
teachers.
professional days for teachers. So, discussion, thoughts, 1 day versus 2.
Well, I've moved for 2.
I would move for 2, because one day, you won't get anyone there on that one day.
I tend to agree.
Yeah. It's the
And
same.
my
And
only other,
you
Yeah,
good with
we
that
had the
too?
same discussion, yeah. that
my
agree.
only other thought was, can we just have the Friday be a full day? I know it doesn't get you at the number of days, but we're talking about that number of hours. And so, can we apply for an exception if we make the Friday, we can't?
You have to have 175 days.
It's so crazy.
What do you mean a full day?
We have a half day
On
right now on
Friday?
the Friday.
We
Our,
do?
our last day
Yeah,
of
the
school
last
is
day
always
is
a
a
half
half
day.
Oh.
So why couldn't we just have that be a full day? And if you're talking about hours, you're basically,
the
you're,
slash.
you're having the same number of hours as you would,
Slashes.
I don't know, it seems
Is
crazy.
it, wait a minute, is it really a half day on Friday?
Yeah.
It's
No,
always been a
yeah.
half day.
Our-
Can we move the half day to Tuesday at least?
Yeah.
That's what we would do. That's what-
Friday would
okay.
become a full day,
Yeah, yeah.
and if we went this route, and then Tuesday would be the last
That
half
makes
day
sense.
for students.
No,
So, that was
Okay.
just my
Yeah.
only other thought was why, is there some opportunity, because you're still gonna lose a fair number of kids who've already committed to camps that they've already paid for and things, because,
Yep.
we're making this decision so late. You can't really make it much earlier, because you don't know how many snow days you're gonna.
April's kind of always the
Yeah,
This is
the meeting that
go,
you
no
do
go
it
date,
Right.
because
yeah.
of snow.
right.
So, yeah. We understand we'll lose those kids.
Yeah.
We need to cover the time, and
Mhm.
it makes most sense to cover it through Tuesday.
Mhm.
Maybe the last week up through the 12th won't be as, will be more academically oriented.
Hmm.
Well, by having those 2 days, things can be moved to those,
Yep.
Graduation still is on the 11th, that
Yeah,
doesn't change.
that doesn't
On
change.
Thursday, the 11th.
Yeah, and
That's
the eighth
So then
graders
the
will
8th
come
graders still have to come back
Nope.
for that? No, I'm teasing.
back. Pure torture.
My poor daughter.
Great. Any further discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Or so adopted. Okay, Cindy, we had a question for you, outside of this executive session thing. We have a couple of candidates that are interested in becoming the member of the CVU board.
Great.
Yeah, it's great. What we're trying to figure out is the best way to get them appointed in time to make the retreat.
Okay.
So the question is, do we need to to warn the public by doing a discussion, one meeting and an action in another for something like this, or can we just take action?
It's just an appointment.
It's just, okay,
I mean, you'd wanna obviously have it on your agenda clearly that you're going to
so
do
that would be clear enough warnings,
Yeah.
it's on the agenda as an action item.
Yeah, and then it kind of, if you're doing some sort of process
Well, we've
to
discussed,
determine between the candidates, then you might wanna be clear about what that process
yeah, so,
is, but-
so we had discussed perhaps charging a subcommittee, so two of us can go talk with these candidates and
Mhm.
come back with one recommendation, and we can move this through smoothly and quickly.
Mhm.
Now, on the other hand, maybe everybody wants in on it, but it was just an idea I had.
I've seen many methods.
Yeah, the last time we did this, we all met in session, and had a conversation, which I thought was very good. I'm not saying that we shouldn't do that, just,
I went through that when I was appointed.
This is not an optimal situation. It's unfortunate that no one ran for the position, and the electorate could make a decision, and I think in the absence of that, I feel as a board, we should be all involved in the process because we are the proxy for the electorate.
Okay.
And be as transparent as possible. So I'd like to interview everybody.
okay. So,
Unless we get like 100 interested
That'll be a
applicants.
nice problem to have.
I'm thrilled we have two.
And
So, okay, so then my suggestion is that I'll work with Sandy, and we'll propose some times for us to get together with the candidates between now and the May meeting so that we can have it on the May meeting as an action item. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Great. With that, I need a motion to go into executive session around personnel.
so moved.
I'll second it.
Great.
And you'll be taking action coming out?
And we will be taking action coming out. Okay. Let me make sure I get everything lined up here, all the things we're gonna do.
So 2 motions, right?
Yeah, so we have a motion to bring off the table. Why don't we do that first?
Right, so, let's assume that the chair has the authority to bring back the agenda item that was tabled.
Yes, that sounds good. So,
If I may,
what was,
we've already have a motion on the table to accept the appointment of the recommended school nurse.
that's right. Right, so, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So moved, so passed. Okay, because I've already lost, okay, here we go. Can I have a motion to accept, regretfully, Lorraine Vorsa's request for retirement this coming June?
So moved with the additional thanking Ms. Vorse for her years of service and wonderful work with our
Excellent.
community's children.
I'll second it.
Great. Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. And finally, can I have a motion to deny the request for a second-year leave of absence for Miss Lindsay Bloxam Fisher?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, folks, we just need to remind ourselves of our next meetings, and then we can adjourn.
Consent agenda?
Consent agenda?
Oh, I do that every time. I did it last month, too. I'm all ready to go. I apologize, folks. 8.0, consent agenda, very important. We need to make sure we're approving what we discussed last month. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as noted in the agenda and as delivered in your packages?
Well, hang on.
There's an action item on it.
Yeah,
So they need to
certificate.
sign some certificate of project completion for the paving and,
How is, that was, we took action on that. We had to have taken, if it's in consent,
oh It didn't have any signatures on what we got.
What have we got there?
For a bond?
No, this was,
It's different.
oh, this is basically, it looks like it's dispersing the bond for the paving that we did last year. So this is on consent because we already took the action to spend this money. That's what this is. You want to
We
see?
just need to sign that,
This is saying
Done.
the project is done.
Yeah,
complete.
this is,
Right.
yeah, this is, yeah.
right, but do we need to sign that before we vote or to accept the
No, vote.
consent agenda, or does it matter?
I don't think it matters
Okay,
either way. It just needs to be signed, and if we approve it, we're,
okay.
Yeah, I would suggest you actually have to approve it before we can sign it.
all right.
Oh,
Let's
okay.
pull this out of consent. This is easy to take care of.
I don't think you have to.
Oh,
I think the consent agenda is that we are approving all these items
Oh, yeah,
without further
right.
discussion.
Okay.
yeah.
I just don't
Okay.
think we can sign as a board until we are authorized to do that through the acceptance of the consent agenda.
That makes
Okay.
sense. Okay, great. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, or do we just go into discussion?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Great. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the consent agenda?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Motion passes, so I will now sign and pass this down. And that gets us through everything except for confirming the next meeting dates. Thanks for keeping me honest.
There's also a card from Walter, I think, a thank you for something you guys.
Oh, yes, we, if you weren't there, we recognized them at the, at town meeting and gave them a gift. And it was a nice, I think it was a nice recognition. Next regular board meeting is May 19th, right back here. Please, please, please block off June 1st for the annual retreat. We do locals in the morning, and then if you're a CSSU board, or if you want to stay the whole day, you're invited to
Everyone's
stay.
invited.
Absolutely. And it's,
We love it. Well,
it's a
everyone
very intense, productive day. And CSSU board, May 19th and June 1st again, and then board chairs will be on May 5th at 8 a.m.
Do we have a business meeting for our local school board on June 23rd?
Yes.
Yes.
This is when we do the
And-
tax anticipation notes, all of that kind of stuff. So it really,
Yeah, make sure
we
I-
usually, we try not
No,
to add
pass it
other
down, yeah.
agenda items. It really is for the purpose of
Pass that to
getting that stuff
Clerk.
that can't
clerk
be,
signs.
we can't get it in time for the May meeting.
I don't know so what was the June 23rd? Sorry.
June 23rd it's our end of year business meeting.
That's for the whole board? or-
That's, yeah.
Yeah, it starts with the SU board, so all 34 board members, and Bob will go through there's probably 5 different things that you need to do, and it's all business. So there are no discussion items, we try not to pack it.
At what time is this?
What time does it say?
5:30.
5:30?
Here?
Here, yes, in the main room. I got here just in time.
Yeah, your timing was great.
I should start at this end, I can tell, because down there, there's still, where I started
Really?
out,
There's-
there's still 2 boards, so, and I've already done them, so I should have started here.
And I'm 20
back.
minutes over, so.
I'd just like to say, the presentation tonight was really good in the sense that
Yes,
it didn't go more than 20 minutes. Not to say that it's sometimes difficult. We have a lot of business, and when a presentation goes 40 minutes,
Yeah, well, we try to keep it short and
So-
sweet, so you guys would get the.
but it was
get what
also,
you needed,
what
but-
was presented was, I thought was great. It went, especially coming out of what we came out
Yeah,
of.
that was kind of- it was
You
really
brought it
great.
right in
Yeah.
and
I'll
transitioned
let Shannon know.
to the locals really well. Yeah, thank her for
She's
us.
great. She's great, she's wonderful.
There we go. So I got that, and do I need to sign this too? Yeah, I do. Clerk +1.
very nice.
With that, we are adjourned.